Body for December 2nd, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Please join us for a moment of silence, and Councilmember Carrera, will you lead us in the pledge?
Yes. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, right now is public comment time. No one has signed up. Is anyone here who would like to make public comment? Nope? Okay, great. Recognitions. First up, we are introducing our new Deputy City Manager. Welcome.
Just going to give her a moment to get to the microphone.
Welcome.
So I want to take some time here to introduce you officially to Jamie Shern as the new Deputy City Manager. I appreciate those of you that participated in the selection process, both from the governing body and from staff. I think we ran a really rigorous process, and I think that the right candidate came to the top. And in the 2 days Jamie's been here, I've been very happy, almost giddy at times when she says things that go, oh, I don't have to worry about that anymore. But she comes to us from Fredericksburg, where she was in charge of all things transportation, and has a lot of other skills in the areas of planning and strategy and things like that. But at the end of the day, really happy to have her here, and looking forward to working with her. So I asked her to come up and be ready to, answer any follow-up questions you might have from the interview.
Now, would you like to say a few things?
I just want to say thank you very much for the opportunity. It's been a great 2 days so far, and I say that genuinely. This is a very welcoming, gracious community of the people that live here and also the staff that work here. So I'm just grateful for the incredible opportunity, and I look forward to working with each of you further.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We're
Welcome
excited
aboard.
to have you. All right, presentations, FY 2026 A1 budget amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, just going to run you through the budget amendment. We've posted this in the proper places, and so we'll be doing a public hearing on the December 16th meeting, at which point I will ask that you pass this on consent. But just so you have an idea of what's in it, this is what the presentation is about. So we're going to talk a little bit about just some highlights of this amendment, things that are different from the adopted budget that we passed in June, both in the general fund and the enterprise funds. And I do have some of the backup in the Excel files, which we can go into if anything piques your interest there, and then talk about what happens next. So this is the budget as it was passed. Anything you see in green is an increase in revenue, so in the revenue half of the chart. So we'll have to amend the budget because we ended up getting more money for certain things than we expected. The red in the expenditure category there is just the to reflect the approval of the full-time position in the registrar's office that you passed a couple months ago. So we're adjusting the budget to account for that. Then the other expenditure there, which I guess I should have made that red, not green. It's traditional that the city, the governing body, grants bonuses to staff, full-time staff at the end of the year. And so that is also included in this budget amendment. And then we also had some increases in jail services due to a long-serving inmate and some services that they provide as far as probation and other court-related services that exceeded what we had planned for. This is what I just said and what that chart reflects in words. So if you, nothing about it is extraordinary or anything that causes me concern. The only decision point for you really is the employee bonuses. We have to pay our jail bills, and we have to bring the carryovers from the various departments, projects that didn't get done in '25 that we expected they would, and we have to account for that money in the budget. So that's the summary of those there, but there's also $512,000 in operation additions carryover that don't include ARPA, which is about $75,000. Hopefully, I think we have one more year where we have to talk about ARPA, and then we don't have to talk about it anymore. But we will keep reporting on it until it's all gone. Here's the other additions and carryovers, transportation being the big one, as it always is. A little bit from the police department for cars that didn't get built or replaced last year. They're going to get built or maybe already have this year. And carryover in capital or in IT. Just again, projects that weren't done, like for instance, the phone system you approved at our last meeting was supposed to be done last year or so. Yeah, and again, the $837,000 CIP amendment does not include ARPA or transportation. So this is just the same information in a different format. So the positive financial impacts of those things that were in green are listed out there, itemized, and the ones that are changes that really had no financial impact are listed there as well. This is just a continuation of the same list. One interesting piece is we did have one of our canines had to go in for an unexpected surgery that was quite expensive, but when you look at the investment we make in the dog and the training and the handler, it's actually not, it's not that expensive when considered in as a part of the whole, but it was not planned for, so we have to add that to the budget adjustment. And then again, the jail comprehensive community services that we have to pay. Here's the ARPA update. We had to have all of our ARPA money obligated by the end of last year, which we did, and everything has been obligated, but this is where we are in spending it down. Some of the money is carried over from 25 to 26, same reason as every other carryover. Again, for transportation projects and the ERP are the two main ones, ERP implementation. Enterprise funds, this is exactly what you had in your adopted budget. Nothing's changed there, just to give you a foothold or a framework. So phase 4 water system, we hoped to get done last year, didn't get done last year, so carrying over that money to continue that. SCADA project, which you did have approved in fiscal year 26, but was originally planned to go in fiscal year 25. The Rugby Road storage yard, still in limbo. And we hoped to do the water study previous, but that is underway, and again, carry the money over to pay for that. Stormwater, the maintenance line and Connor Center maintenance contracts are carried over from 2025. The bird sanctuary, affected a lot by federal machinations. Still on track. I mean, well, it's not on track, should happen by now, but it's still going to happen. It's just we had to carry the money over because we haven't gotten the federal components done yet. Salt shed replacement, again, all these things are just things we thought were going to happen last year that didn't happen this year. If you're wondering, an LOMR is a letter of map revision that has to be done for the land that is basically occupied now by the tidal wave car wash, which apparently used to be something else that was a contaminating force prior to my time, obviously. So if you want details on any of that, we can open the Excel file, but otherwise, next steps, again, routine budget amendment will come to you on consent at the next meeting. Also, appropriations for the quarterly appropriations for the city and for the school come to you for the next at the next meeting on consent, unless you have things you want to talk about. And then that key decision point will be the $216,000 to give the bonuses to the full-time and permanent part-time staff. The bonus is $1,000 for every full-time FTE. I think we had 212 that qualified. You had to be on the books before June of this past year to qualify. And then it's $500 for every permanent part-time person, same qualifications, had to be on the books before then, which as far as I can see, you've approved every year going back at least 7 years, so seems like a routine thing. I'm not familiar with this sort of thing, but you apparently are, so. But that'll be the only decision point, and so if, I'm asking that this be put on consent at the next meeting. The only thing that you're not actually obligated to do is that. So unless you want to pull and talk about that more than, like I said, I'm asking that it go to consent, so.
I have a question about
Sure.
that. I know in the past, the previous city manager had mentioned adding city council to police the part-time bonuses. And I know that and I initiated this in case the public wants, for council raises increase, and we actually weighted further than every other jurisdiction in the Commonwealth. I'm just wondering if there's consideration of adding the city council at least to the bonus as well, because a lot of us have committees, boards, commissions we go to, we do not get any reimbursement, we don't get mileage reimbursement, parking reimbursement. And I think, it'd be fair to consider us in that.
That was not considered, that I haven't heard of that until this very
Okay.
second, so.
Now you know.
Yeah,
Okay. Maybe we can go down the line and speak about that. I have a couple questions. Can I
Go
ask
ahead. I'm
questions?
sorry, go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. Can you tell me what the net is? The net adjustment from the general fund from what we passed to this?
I can tell you that. I'm just waiting for my brain to tell me.
Oh,
It's definitely more. I mean, it's bigger than it was.
3.2 positive. Okay.
First Amendment.
And most of that is carryover for CIP programs.
So 3.2, I'm just saying this mostly for the recording, $3.2 million increase in the budget.
Okay, thank you. And how much ARPA do we have left?
That is 1.6.
Yeah, so just under 1.7 million.
Okay. And are we on track to spend that down to the last?
Yeah, the only issue, the only thing that we might not be able to spend is the $22,000 for the smart meter project. Calvin assures us that all the meters have been done, and so we allocated a certain amount to do that. We have to look at what the rules are, because we may be able to do something else with that, but typically, or the rules that you had to tell us we're gonna spend the money by the end of last year,
Oh.
and you can't really change that. It is a like for like sort of thing, so we might be able to find something to spend it on, but at the end of the day, if we end up having to get $22,000 back out of however many million, that's not too shabby, especially since we expected to spend it on this smart meter project.
Right, it's definitely a good amount to left. Okay. Do we want to go down the line? We'll start with,
Thank you for the presentation. No questions for me.
any comments on the,
I haven't really had a lot of time to think about that,
Yeah.
so I'm usually bonuses and things like that are for part-time benefited employees. So I know you say part-time, permanent.
Permanent part-time.
But to me, that, I'm assuming that's part-time benefited.
They are not benefited.
They are
They're
not
hourly
benefited.
employees, yeah.
Okay, so I guess that's something to think about. So it could be an instructor at the rec center that
Exactly.
comes in once a week and does one class for an hour.
Do we have a minimum for that? I think we have a minimum of that.
20+ hours per week.
20 hours, but less than 32 or something like that?
29.
Or 29 is the.
And they've had to be
the
here
allowable thing.
over a year almost, basically, correct?
Yes.
Correct, yes.
Okay, so I don't think, I'm not sure if we consistently meet that every month,
okay.
so.
And I would just say with the boards and commissions, I meet that every month,
Good to know.
Well, every week,
or every week, yeah. But you don't have any boards and commissions, so
20,
that's why you don't meet that.
20 hours a week.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yessie?
Yeah,
Comments, questions?
yeah, we have to think about that. So, I'm not saying no to the idea, but. I think
Well,
we
I'm
need
gonna
more discussion.
also circle back with our city attorney just to make sure that's even possible.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly, so.
Well,
There's more
legislatively.
information needed.
Yeah.
Okay, more information.
Yes.
I applaud Councilmember Carrera's
Yes.
recommendation and suggestion, and definitely support it, and hopefully the city attorney will figure out a way to, if this dais
Budget through?
so
Wow,
chooses.
no pressure there.
Yeah, no pressure there, right? Make it quick. No, just kidding.
And just so everyone's on the same page, we're talking about a $3,500 increase to that 2016, so that makes it $219,500, just so you understand what the
Yeah,
scope and scale is.
pennies in the bucket. Because I think, I mean, just to dwell on this just for a few seconds, and looking at what surrounding other jurisdictions do, I mean, many councils feed their council at night, we don't do that. Lots of other things we don't do in the city because of how small we are and things of that nature. So again, I think Councilmember Kerr was right on point with his comments. My question was about ARPA, 1.6 left over. Some of that money is going for tenant improvements. And I'm assuming that that's still available. So if we already have commitments, and you're shaking.
It has
your
all
head.
been spent. The tenant improvement money had to be done by the end of last year. Oh, no. There's some left over from B&B, but yes, that has been committed and allocated.
Okay. And so will B&B meet the deadline because we have to have it spent by next year?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
They've already gotten some of their money for plans and design and that sort of thing.
Let me see, what else? Was the schools included, or was just the city? I didn't see schools. Are they gonna have an A1? They usually do. They usually come in the same time we do.
The schools have already presented to the board.
Okay.
They've advertised. So it's a matter of you guys wanting them to come. Usually they're not a part of our presentation.
Oh, okay, that's fine, but I mean, we'll vote on the school board's amendment, budget amendment.
Yeah, once we give you the agenda item for approval, it includes theirs as well.
Oh, okay. No, I'm just seeing why we weren't getting, but I see now that school board and good stuff, so. So on the 16th, we'll be voting on both the city and the school.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
So in the past, this has all happened in one big fell shot, and
That's right.
I don't like doing that. I'd like to give you time to consider things, and so I'm trying to give a 2-meeting sort of cycle for everything
Yes.
that we do, and so I know it's gonna look a little different than it has in the past, but that's why.
Yeah, my final question is that the city's, the employees' $1,000 bonuses. How do we factor that in when we talk about total benefit packages for our employees? Because when we look at COLAs for next year, I don't ever remember us saying, well, you also remember, or how is that calculated as this one-time payment to our employees? Which I think we should do, but I just want to know when we consider total compensation packages.
That is all calculated, and you'll notice that, well, it doesn't say it there, but it also incorporates all of the other things that go along with it, the Social Security, the FICA, so there's so this is considered wages for them, so it will be calculated and computed as wages. So when we look at someone's annual salary, this will be included in it.
Oh, okay, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Carl, appreciate it. That's my questions.
No questions for me, thank you.
Okay,
I'll figure out what to do on the bonus for the governing body thing and get back to you before the meeting on the 16th, so that
Okay.
you are armed with that. Probably won't put it on consent, though, if we're
No,
gonna talk
that
about it, so
should not be
that,
consent.
yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
And when you meant all employees, are you talking about everybody, or just?
All
that-
full-time employees that were employed in that window of,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So that it would include the senior employees,
who?
senior employees, directors,
Yes, yeah, the only one it
police
won't
chiefs,
include is me,
fire chiefs,
so, yeah.
city
absolutely.
manager. Okay, just wanted to find out, make sure. I knew who all was getting involved. And who
Excellent.
wasn't.
It's on the naughty list of the nice list.
All right, all set?
Yep.
Great, thank you. Next up is the UOSA jurisdictional cost allocations. Welcome, and thank you for coming out.
Good evening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you today. I'm Brian Steglitz. I'm UOSA's Executive Director. And I've been in the position about a year and a half. I've been asked to come to talk to you about our jurisdictional cost allocation study, but I'm going to give you a little bit of background just to set the stage for who UOSA is for folks who may not be familiar with that. So bear with me, but we are Upper Occoquan Service Authority. We provide your wastewater treatment services. We are a 54 million gallon per day wastewater treatment plant. It's part of a one water loop. If you look at the figure, you'll see the red outline, which is our service area. So we serve obviously City of Manassas Park, City of Manassas, and then parts of Fairfax County and parts of Prince William County as well. We serve a little over 500,000 residents and businesses in the region, and we're quite a capital-intensive process. We have a 10-year capital budget of approximately $625 million. And by the way, I'd be happy to, I've been giving tours to some of our jurisdictional boards and councils, and if it was something that you wish to take a tour and see our facility, I'd be happy to arrange that for any of you who would be interested. This is an infographic that talks about the one water cycle. So you see UOS's facility up in the left-hand corner. Our effluent gets discharged into a reservoir which enters Bull Run. It joins with the Occoquan River and feeds the Occoquan Reservoir, which is the source water for Fairfax's water Griffith plant. And they distribute that to their customers, and then, of course, comes around as part of a one water loop. So we're an integral part of the drinking water supply for the region. And Fairfax Water serves about 2 million people in Northern Virginia. So this is a shot from our strategic plan, which I've shared with each of you, so you have an opportunity to take a look at it. I won't spend time on this, but our board just recently adopted this plan. It's the first strategic plan that UOS has had in its history, so it's really set the stage for what our future looks like, at least for over the next 5 years. So what I'm here to talk to you about today is our jurisdictional cost allocation project. We launched this project close to a year ago, and for several reasons why we took on this initiative. One was to incorporate cost of service principles. I heard when I started, I got feedback from the board members who represent all the jurisdictions, and there were questions about whether we were implementing best practice and cost of service principles and the rates that we charge each of our jurisdictions. So that was one of the reasons why we decided to take a step back, hire a consultant to assess whether we're implementing best practices. There was also a question about equity. There are some services that we charge for that some of our jurisdictions aren't using, and I'll touch on that a little bit because it impacts the City of Manassas Park. So we wanted to address that. There was discussion about incentivizing, using rates to incentivize inflow and infiltration into the collection system. So we know that inflow and infiltration can influence the size of infrastructure. So if we have the jurisdictions reducing that, it could potentially save capital costs for UOSA, and then eventually the costs that you all have to provide for the services that we provide to you all. So is that something that jurisdictions would be interested in, something we looked at with this project? Of course, protecting the environment, meeting our customer service needs is part of the goals of this, and our ability to accommodate the growth that's happening in some of the jurisdictions, and how do we handle that with also the changing characteristics of the waste stream. I'll talk a little bit about that more in a second. So we finished our study, we shared it back out with each of the jurisdictions, and we've captured their feedback. And what we've heard is if we want to make any changes to our existing service agreement, that requires unanimous support from all of the jurisdictions. So we really need to look for wins, and there were certain things that we found that we didn't have consensus on. So the things that we did hear feedback on that we thought we have an opportunity to make improvements on that would benefit all of the folks that we serve are three. One of them is our septic receiving facility. So we accept somewhere between 1,000 and 1,300 loads of septic every month from haulers who are collecting waste from private residences in the jurisdictions that we serve. And those costs are distributed based on the proportional usage that each of the jurisdictions have of our facility. However, some of the jurisdictions, like City of Manassas Park, does not really use the septic services, and other ones are using it more, yet you're still paying for those services. So we did receive feedback that says, hey, this is a cost of service principle that we weren't following. You should be paying for the service if you're using it, but if you're not, you shouldn't need to pay for it. The reality is septic is about 30 times more concentrated than typical waste that comes through our pipes. So it's a lot more expensive to treat per gallon than just municipal flow. So from an equity standpoint, we wanted to separate that, and that was, we have agreement from all the jurisdictions that makes sense. So we'll be moving forward with some proposed changes around that. The second piece is capacity loaning. So we have some jurisdictions that have exceeded their allocation of nutrient load. And because they've exceeded their allocation, they're in essence using infrastructure that other jurisdictions own or have paid for. So we're looking at a way to have the jurisdictions that have exceeded their allocation compensate those who have spare capacity that they could use. So again, it's an equity thing in making sure that there's appropriate compensation for using infrastructure that other folks own. So that's the second piece that we have agreement on to move forward and come up with a system to address. And the last is how we bill for our reserve maintenance. Our reserve maintenance fund is how we address equipment that we need to replace on a regular basis. And we typically charge our jurisdictions after we incur the costs for those. And it's not smooth throughout the year, so we have sort of this cycle of costs that go up and down. And that can be a challenge, and we've heard that specifically from the city of Manassas Park to plan for. So we've come up with a way, and we've already implemented this, to level the costs across the whole year and do a true-up at the end of the year. And we've heard feedback that that's working well for you all. So we've already implemented that recommendation, and it seems like it's successful. The rest of the items on this list are things that we didn't get agreement across the jurisdictions on how to address. So these are things that we are just going to maintain the status quo on. Methanol feed facility is a project that was funded solely by the city of Manassas. They pay for the capital and the O&M. They wanted us to look at were there opportunities to share in the operational expenses, and there wasn't general agreement, as you can imagine, across the jurisdictions on that. So that idea has, for the time being, been tabled. And then some of the other items that we have here, like delivery systems, emergency retention, that was the I&I incentives. There really wasn't agreement on how to address that across the jurisdiction, so we decided not to move forward with recommendations associated with that. And then how we handle capacity increases and restoration of existing capacity, those are pretty well covered in our current service agreements. And again, we don't have any intention of making any changes to those. So that's where we are on the jurisdictional cost allocation. The second thing that was happening concurrent with this is a re-rating study. So there are two jurisdictions that have needs for growth in the near future, the city of Manassas and Prince William. And they're looking at an additional need of about 6 million gallons per day. The cost that was estimated to add on a $6 million day expansion to the plant was close to $200 million. So quite costly to add that capacity. So before I started, UOSA embarked on a study to see if there was untapped potential or latent capacity in the plant that could be tapped without having to do a full-scale capital improvement project. So we've just finished that study and have some good news. So through doing some things, stress testing, so we stress tested the plant by pushing water to its capacity through certain processes. We used some modeling, and then the result of all of this was developing a list of capacity improvement projects that instead of doing sort of this mass addition, we can do several smaller projects to uncover latent capacity that currently exists. And the result of that, sort of this complicated figure I'll quickly walk you through. Across the top, you see all the jurisdictions. The FF is Fairfax and Prince William, your COMP, and then down the vertical axis, you have some of the nutrient parameters that we monitor. So COD, BOD, those are organics. TSS is suspended solids, TP is phosphorus, TKN and ammonia are both associated with nitrogen. And on the left side of the screen, the areas that are in red, those are jurisdictions that have exceeded in 3 months their allocation for each of those parameters. So Prince William for COD, BOD, TKN, and ammonia were above for 3 months what their allocated ownership of the plant was for those parameters. So in essence, they're using others' capacity, the capacity of the other jurisdictions. So what we have found with the projects that we were intended to implement and some that are already in the queue is that by implementing a couple strategic projects, we can basically reduce the overage, and everyone will be getting an additional allotment of capacity. And when you apply those capacities to the current usage that each of the jurisdictions have, you see the numbers on the right. So once we implement the changes that we're proposing, for one, Prince William gets down into the range of not exceeding their capacity ownership, and then the other jurisdictions also get some additional capacity. So you can see City of Manassas Parks, in terms of proportion of their allotted capacity they're using, that goes down. So our plan is to reallocate the latent capacity that we found through this re-rating study, and we marry that with the work that we're doing on the jurisdictional cost allocation study, and then put those things together and share them with our board for action later on in the year. So the roadmap, the fourth quarter of this past year, we finished our jurisdictional cost allocation. As we move into 2026, we will be drafting service agreement modifications that will come to you, and they will incorporate the things that I already talked about. How do we handle septage, capacity loaning, and then we will also provide to each of the jurisdictions the additional capacity that we found through the re-rating study. So that will be additional capacity that you'll have at your disposal. And going through the process of getting feedback from jurisdictions that we serve, we hope towards the end of next year we'll be having something before you that you can vote on and hopefully approve. So I know I went through that pretty quickly, but I was allotted a limited amount of time to address you today, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much. I want to say last summer I did tour UOSA. I did it with the Cub Scouts, so I was undercover. But it was a really educational tour. I was very impressed by the facility, so I would encourage everyone to go out and do that if they can. Let's see. I guess my questions were about the hauled septic waste. When I was reading, I had the questions, but it sounds like that you're going to cover that. I didn't think Manassas Park really had any.
Very limited usage of septage, yeah.
My question is about this new capacity project that you kind of ended with a colored chart. What is the cost for that, and how is that being allocated?
So I didn't really get into this, but what we've seen over time is when UOSA was designed, we assumed two things. One is the hydraulic capacity, the flow that we need to move through the plant, and the other is the nutrients that have to be removed in order to meet our permit. And what we're seeing right now is that the concentration of waste has changed over time, so it's more concentrated than the original design plans. So that means the amount of things like phosphorus and nitrogen per gallon that entered the facility are greater now than they were 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And part of the reason for that is some is dietary contributions of nitrogen and food and organics, and the other is conservation-based that people are putting in their home, like low-flow fixtures. So people are putting the same amount into the toilet, but less water means more concentrated waste stream.
Okay.
So even though we've had some growth in capacity through more density housing and growth in the region, we're not seeing the flows increase, but we're seeing the concentrations increase. And that means that we have to be able to take more things out of the water than we anticipated. And part of the projects that we have on tap in our capital improvement plan are to realign our hydraulic capacity with what we need to take out of the water, so the nutrient removal capacity. So the next few years of capital projects capture those types of things. And I can share what our capital plan is, but the re-rating project came up with somewhere in the $50 to $60 million worth of projects to recapture the nutrient removal that we need in order to bring the facility up to its current rated capacity. It's a long-winded answer to your question, but hopefully I addressed.
You did.
Okay.
And then how is that cost allocated? Is it split evenly or is it by proportion?
So the cost to realign the nutrient removal with the hydraulic capacity will be shared based on the proportion of ownership of the plant.
Okay.
So for City of Manassas Park, you're between 5% and 6% of that. Anything that we do to increase the hydraulic capacity beyond 54 would be borne by the jurisdictions who need the additional capacity. So that's not the City of Manassas Park. So anything that's associated with growth would be handled by others, not City of Manassas Park.
Okay, thank you.
So just to follow up on that answer that you just gave, thank you for the presentation, by the way. So is it, am I right in thinking that Prince William would pay a disproportional amount for that capacity increase beyond the 54%?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
And then if the usage percentage goes down for Manassas Park, does Manassas Park residents pay more or less in their water bills, or that usage remains the same and the actual cost to the end user would be roughly the same as it has been in the past?
So there's two pieces to how we charge. So our operation and maintenance budget is based on usage. So that's metered flow. So what you use, you pay for our annual operational costs. For all capital investments, those are distributed based on proportional ownership. So for capital projects, you're always going to pay that 5.5%. Once the plant is expanded and it's greater than 54, that percentage would go down because you're percent ownership. You'll still have the same amount of volume, but that will be a smaller percentage of the total.
Right.
capacity.
So other than individual usage, there'll be no effect on people's individual bills for water based on these improvements?
Well, there are capital projects that will be part of our financial plan. So, we will have, rate increases to capture those that will be part of our future budget proposal for our board for consideration.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Yeah, to follow, thank you, Brian, for the
Yeah.
presentation. Very insightful, yet confusing, not your fault.
Apologize for that.
And just following up with the previous question about the re-rating process. So you're saying basically to us that Manassas Park won't see any significant increases in the current rates we pay when you do the re-rating allocation. That's what I understood.
So the re-rating will allow us to reallocate nutrient removal capacity for the plant. So you will get more than you currently have. But there are some improvements we need to make to the plant
capital.
in order to the plant to meet its nutrient removal at its rated capacity.
Sure.
And those capital costs will be borne by all of the jurisdictions at their proportional ownership.
Right. And so I guess we need to get you back here one night to just go over the capital piece of it, because that's what's driving our rates. And if you guys are planning to expand this plant in the next 2 or 3 years significantly, it'd be interesting to know what your capital, at least your 5-year capital process looks like,
Okay.
and what you guys are projecting. So are you planning anything in the next 2 fiscal years? As
Yes,
far as you are?
yes.
Yeah, we need to get you back,
Yeah.
Brian. We need to find out what's going on.
I mean, and some of those have already been programmed, so they're not necessarily new. Some of those things we've already bonded for. But there are some new things, so be happy to come back and talk
Yeah,
that through.
appreciate that. Now, as I understand it, and that's not saying much, we in Manassas Park purchased years ago excess capacity. We have more capacity than we can use. So I have 2 questions. With this new re-rating, as I understand it, or getting the solids out or whatever,
Mhm.
you're gonna give us more capacity, which we already have too much of in the first place.
You're gonna
So I'm not
get,
sure how it's gonna help us.
you're gonna get more nutrient removal capacity, not hydraulic capacity.
Got you.
But the
There we
way
go.
that the jurisdictional cost allocation, I think, will help you is 2 ways. One is that right now you're paying more for septic than you're using. So your proportional cost of that will go down. And then the other area is the capacity loaning. So for the jurisdictions that are using more, we're gonna come up with a model where they will be offsetting some of your capital costs. And so your capital costs would be, you'd have like a deduct on your bill based on the overage that others are using your own, own capacity. I don't have, we're working on what those numbers would be, and we'd
Sure,
be able to
sure.
come
No, I
back to you
understand.
next year and share some of that.
Again, I appreciate this education that we're getting. So we do have excess capacity. You're saying that Manassas and Prince William lack capacity and they need more capacity?
Nutrient removal capacity.
Oh, just nutrient, not the other ones you mentioned. What's the other word?
Hydraulic. So flow.
Hydraulic.
There's
They have
flow and
fine
there's-
hydraulic.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was hoping we could sell some of our capacity to
can.
Manassas.
You can. There is a mechanism for that, if that's something that you're interested in doing.
We
You
are?
can- You
We are.
can
Oh.
sell capacity.
Okay, maybe, or a bargaining chip or something, right? Land or something from them. Okay, that's fantastic. That's good to know, because we have excess capacity that we may never, ever use. The other thing was the I&I, which I'm very interested in. Do you help communities, municipalities with their I&I problems? Smoke detection tests and things of that nature, or do you, to technical assistance, or do you do it for us, or how does that work?
We can talk through ways to partner. I mean, we have parts of the collection system that we also manage, so we're doing that on ours. So there may be opportunities for us to leverage we're bringing somebody in to test, can we
Yeah.
share the resources? So we're happy to talk, and we deal with Director Rowley on those
Yes,
things. So
yes.
those conversations are already happening.
Because in our historic side of our city, we have very old clay, in most places, lines, which we know crack and cause inflow and infiltration problems. So yeah, being able to detect those and correct those would not only help the environment, but make our system more efficient. Yeah, so something we could work with you also.
We measure the peak flow for all of the jurisdictions, and your peak to average is pretty much the same. So right now, there's not a lot of disparity
Okay.
when you look across the complete system for each of the 4 jurisdictions. Maybe within the communities, there are
Within,
areas that are
yeah.
tighter than other areas, but in general, there's not a lot of disparity. If there may be more of an incentive to come up with a system where the folks who have leakier systems are paying more, but that doesn't currently exist.
And then my final point is, when I hear complaints from our residents, our number 1 is property tax. Number 2, closely behind it, is the UOSA sewer bill. Because people don't understand it. They don't understand the capital part that our city, we don't clean sewer here at Manassas Park. And they just don't understand why our rates are so high. So, yeah, I again, appreciate all that you've shared here tonight. Thank you.
I think when you came to visit, you see the amount of infrastructure that it takes to do what we do, and that's part of, we're making efforts now to communicate better with our customers. So
Yes.
we'd like to work with you all to make your customers understand what's involved in what we do, and that we're part of a drinking water system also, which people don't really
That would be
understand.
helpful.
Yeah.
So happy to
Fantastic.
partner on however you think that makes the most sense for your community.
It was very eye-opening. I have not been able to turn on my shower without thinking of you guys.
Oh, no.
There's just so
That's
much
scary.
there's just so much that goes into me turning on my shower and having clean water.
That's
And I
good.
take it for granted, and I appreciate the work
That
you
is
do.
so, I hear you.
That's why the Discovery Channel is really important to watch, because you get a lot of information
Okay,
there. But thank you for
Discovery
your
Channel.
presentation. I have no questions.
Thank you for the presentation. The question I have is, how come the ownership of the plant isn't by population? So the model that what you're stating is, and this is the theory, is that we own 5-6%, and if you have 500,000, you're talking about 25-30,000. We're servicing about 17,000 people. So we're paying for an additional 70,000, and the growth is more in Prince William County. But if we're at 5-6% and they're using more usage, we're still on CIP paying more. Why isn't it done by population, or why was it set up that way from the beginning? And then maybe do commercial by usage.
So,
Just
I mean, all of, we have 4 customers, and it's metered. So, if you look at our budget, which our operation and maintenance budget, you pay for the amount you use. So it's all flow-based, and that would equalize based on,
But on the ownership of the plant.
on the ownership of the plant, that's part of the original governance and how it was set up with the, all of the people who were the founders. So, you own that much, and when we're doing capital, if we improve the plant, that's your piece of it. There are opportunities, and there have been sales, so if you feel like you own more than you need, there is the ability for you to sell, and there are people who will buy it, I can assure you. Because, Prince William is looking for additional capacity. But I guess I also caution you is it's hard to get back once you give it up.
That's true.
So,
That's a good point.
you need to look at what your long-term needs are, and is it really worth it? Because the cost for an additional MGD after we do this sort of next 60 is gonna be expensive.
Really?
Thank you.
Yep.
Brian, thank you for your presentation, and thank you for including me in your meetings. I've learned a lot, even though I've only attended a few, so thank you so much. Can you talk a little bit more about the capacity loaning?
Sure. So we're still figuring out the details on how this works, but the concept is for capacity loaning is it will likely be so let's say jurisdiction A is over their allotted capacity by a certain percent. We would look at how much of the capacity of the others based on your proportional ownership they're using and have them pay a proportion of your P&I interests for the period that they're over. So it's sort of like moving capital costs from one jurisdiction to another based on the volume of your capacity so it would all happen through like an algorithm that we would develop. We'd obviously share it with you all, but it would happen automatically. So when you get the bill, you'll see here's what you owe like you currently do. Here's your capital costs for the quarter, and then we would have like a deduct for the portion that someone else is using of your capacity.
Okay, so then it would be something that this dais would need to vote on or figure out where that money's gonna be applied and whether it goes directly to our citizens or used elsewhere. Thank you.
Great. Any last questions, comments? Thank you so much for
All
joining
right.
us tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, we're up to the consent agenda. The consent agenda tonight includes the approval of the minutes from November 18th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Unfinished business, the Fourth Amendment to Purchase and Sale Agreement, Phase 2, City Center.
Thank you, Mayor. Briefly, the city manager is going to pull up at least one drawing or schematic. I'll give him a second here. But the item before you this evening is a proposed Fourth Amendment to the Purchase and Sale Agreement between the city and EPI 4 LLC. They are the successor to EMSI Engineering, Inc. for Phase 2 of City Center. The original PSA was dated August 1st of 2012. And it has been amended 3 times previously, including in October of last year, 2024. So the approved plan for the property at issue was for an apartment building and an office building. The terms of the agreement as amended were that the developer could not pull permits to build the residential until they pulled permits for both the required office building and a planned restaurant that originally was going to be across the railroad tracks on property across from the Palisades, I believe, along with other conditions. So with the passage of time, and remember this started back in 2012, after the new City Hall was developed, the pad site next to City Hall became available for a restaurant, and the plan morphed into a restaurant, the steakhouse that is now in operation and has been for several months, that it would be better suited there than across the railroad tracks as originally intended. This change was supported by the city and the governing body, and the result is what you have next door to City Hall. There was a condition in the agreement as amended that required continuous operation for a period of months, that it be open to the general public for lunch and dinner for at least 3 months, and that condition has now been satisfied. However, there still is the requirement for an office building adjacent to the proposed single apartment building on parcel 1C. EPI 4 representatives are here this evening to confirm that despite their best efforts, they've been unable to get financing for the office building. As everyone knows, the office market is stagnant, to say the least, and the short to intermediate prospects are not good for office. So rather than just let the property stagnate, what they are proposing is to eliminate the office building requirement and instead allow a second apartment building on the site. And there's a revised master plan. Carl, if you have that. So as you can see from the plan on the screen, there would be 2, so right now it would be 1 7-story residential. There would be 2 7-story residential buildings constructed, essentially mirrors of one another, that would each have 110 units. EPI 4 would have to comply with all requirements of the city's zoning ordinance, including, if required, obtaining waivers of development standards and other requirements of law. So we're happy to answer any questions, and the developers' representatives are here. They are the ones asking for this change, but I believe the city manager will confirm that staff is supportive of this change, but we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do you have questions to the left?
No questions.
I have a question. I'm very supportive of this. The question I do have, are the utilities on the entire perimeter going to be undergrounded? And another question, Mr. Manager, is it I mean, and I know we have parking there on Manassas Drive, parallel parking. Is that, with the speed there, is that something that should be suitable for parallel parking on Manassas Drive? This is the top.
It's not on Manassas.
No, no, no. If you go back to the site plan. The top, you see how there's 4 spots on the, is that safe?
Oh, okay, yeah, you said the parking lot,
Yeah.
or the parking.
Is that something we really want? I don't know. Just a thought.
That's on Euclid, yeah.
Yeah, in Euclid, I'm sorry. Euclid, sorry. I mean,
I didn't understand the question. What
I
was
mean, is that safe? I don't know. I question safety there on
Oh,
that road
okay.
because it's just a busy road. I don't know if there should be parking there. I don't know. That's just a thought. I'm generally supportive of the project. I just don't know. That's just a thought speaking. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get out and.
Okay, the question, we have parallel parking because next to the Euclid, I think there are about 4 on each side, so total of probably 8 or 9.
Yeah. I would prefer not to have parking there. I don't find it safe. But that's, I don't know. It's just, I don't know what your thoughts are. I don't know what the planning zone is.
You know,
It's a
at
busy
some point
road.
it'll be, this is obviously, it'll be done, you know, they'll apply the traffic engineering book, and it will
Yeah.
tell them whether it's safe or not based on the
Yeah,
speed of the road, and the width of the road, and all those things, so, you know, they follow the model, and
Yeah.
so I
The-
don't know what that's gonna turn out.
Okay.
And Mayor,
Also,
quickly.
Carrera, this is really, has not changed. This is from the
No,
original
no,
plan.
yeah,
that
no,
was
I remember.
approved. Yeah, if you remember.
Yeah.
So this parking, we haven't touched it.
No,
There's
I know.
change.
I just have a concern because I think it's a busy road and for people to park there and they come out, I find it to be, it's like placing.
We'll be happy to probably look at it according to
Just making it-
transportation's code. and
That's just
see
a
if that
thought.
will
I don't
meet
know.
the
I don't know what the diocese feels. It's just a thought of mine, so I just feel it's
Did you
just.
have something?
Yeah, I think he just touched on it. These are the type of issues that would be resolved ordinarily during site plan and other
Okay.
construction.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And site plan already actually approved. We are just
Yes.
taking the office.
Right.
putting
Yeah, I know.
apartments.
I'm supportive of that. I just,
So,
that part.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mhm.
Thank you. And good evening, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. I do apologize. I just, stepped in the middle of the conversation, so.
Okay, thanks.
Rental units, right?
Councilmember Meyer?
Okay. Okay, no.
Any other comments?
Thanks, Carl. Thanks for coming out and answering our questions. 220 units is
Yes.
what we're talking about.
Yes.
The council adopted an affordable housing policy,
Mhm.
I'm sure you're aware. And we've been asking, and as we negotiate different things, they've been providing the developers, at least our last project, 5%
Okay.
of the units would be a below market rate. So in this case, we're talking about 220, we're talking about 11 of the units being below market rate. And I would hope that we would be consistent with our policy, and we continue to do that. We're having some problems, and we're having to modify the policy because in purchasing homes, the ones that we've had so far, people haven't qualified and things of that nature. But that's not gonna be the case for apartments. There's a great need for apartments. And if we have people in our community that need these affordable units, again, I hope the developer is willing to work with the city and provide those 11 below market rate apartments in your scheme of things and in your calculations going forward. Because it is our policy to do that.
I hear you loud and clear. And when the apartment actually is still under the old master plan, we're only adding 110. And honestly, we did not think of that. We have no plan. But I'll go back to the partnership and say we have
Please.
110, 5 of probably about 6 apartments.
That would be 6 if we just look at
Six
the one.
apartment. I don't see much problem on that, but
But my
I
point is,
can say yes, but I still need some.
I like your yes.
approval, so.
But I would like you and your partners to consider both buildings. I understand that the commitment for the one building, the 110, but you're asking us, this council, to let you out of agreement that you build office space.
Well,
And we're thinking about doing that for you, but I hope you would then bless our community with 6 more
I love
affordable,
this
below
community
rate
since- I love this
units.
community since I moved in here 12 years ago.
We love you, and we know you do great
And
stuff.
I feel I'm part of it, and I'm
Yes,
all for it.
yes.
Definitely, I will carry this argument, I don't have the full authority, and it
Oh,
was not
no.
on my,
And we're not gonna
on
negotiate
my
it
plate.
here.
But I can tell you for sure, because we're adding 110, the rest is really not added, has been there for the past 10 years, approved, and is part of it. So I would tell you probably 90% we're gonna get the 6th. And I can get that by tomorrow afternoon, but I just need time to, and I can email our city manager here
Yes.
with the decision of the 6th.
I was gonna say, we're gonna turn it, he knows the wishes, or at least the thoughts of this dais, and I guess he'll take that forward. The other thing is, I look at the space, and one of the things I wasn't on the council when we did the Norfolk developments here. There is no green space. There is no place for a kid to ride ride a swing or go down a slide. And I look at your development, and it's fantastic.
Thank you.
But there's no amenities for young people that I know will be in your apartment building, where they could, a little parklet or some kind of thing, green space. So I hope you guys can think about that as well. Yeah, because we're gonna have young people in there, and
Yeah, I
much
think
rather keep them on site than
We
running
put in
around.
purpose left some green around each building, each in the corners, if you.
Yeah, I see those.
I
Maybe
mean,
those can be expanded.
If we can
with some-
utilize something there, it might not look on the plan, it's but it's a good size area.
We have a bike trail too.
A mini park.
Or the walking trail.
Yeah, walking trail, but definitely a mini park where kids could go down slides and swing and things of that nature. Hope that could be under consideration as well. So those are my two things, and hopefully they'll be taken under consideration.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, so is it, I'm looking at this, is it that all the parking is gonna be outside the building? There's no parking within the structure itself?
Well, so far, we haven't really put anything within the structure, everything on the site itself. To put more parking under the structure itself is kind of problematic for so many reasons, and one of it is the fire code.
Mm.
You're putting a vehicle under the apartment, it's
Sure.
a different process.
I just, I know that different apartment complexes, condominiums that I've been in Maryland and DC, more concentrated areas, have parking like at the base level, 1 or 2 levels. And then that would free up a lot of space around the exterior for, more amenities for the people that live there. So anyway, this isn't my business, but just,
Thank you.
suggestion.
Point well taken, it's just, it's a matter of cost and a fire code that goes along with it, so.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any last comments, questions? So are we going to hold the motion on this until we hear back about the ADUs?
So the only comment I'll make about the ADUs is although you do have a policy, this property is outside of the policy because it's not owned by the city.
That's right.
It's been sold. So I would suggest it would be, I don't want to call it a moral commitment, but, a commitment by the developer
But they're
to look
asking
into
us
do
to
it.
do something. They're asking us to allow them to not build the building. So I'm looking at it, not just a moral, but a trade-off for our community.
Mr. Moore, initially, we had the office planned, and I'm not saying anything, for the hoping at some point the city was gonna rent a whole floor from us.
I remember that.
And of course, with the city renting whole floor for 40 years, would have been easier to finance. I think 2 years ago, the city withdrew that verbal commitment, said we don't need more office, it's different. So the whole office idea collapsed. So it was a kind of relationship, like the restaurant, it's kind of relationship, so it's between two parties. But I can understand what you're referring to.
Sure. And I do honor and appreciate the fact that you're willing to at least do the 6th in the new building.
I really appreciate it. I can go ahead and say yes, but I as per the agreement I have with the partners, I have to consider.
And I'd rather have a half a loaf than no loaf.
So is the suggestion then that you'd prefer to act on this at the next meeting?
Yeah, we want to codify, I want to vote on it in the language, in the.
Mr. Moore, if we can vote for it, depending on my answer, yes or no tomorrow, I think will be great. Consider it yes, just give me the chance to fill my legal obligation, that's all.
Okay,
But
so you need to vote tonight.
As a
opposed to
yes,
the
if you
16th?
vote for it, it's because we've been really waiting for this almost, it's long enough.
Yeah.
So if we vote on it today, at least it would set our plan going forward.
Yeah.
Again, if I would have known about this, I would have got myself covered, but I would consider it yes for now.
Do you mind if we craft a motion that says, with the additional 6 affordable units?
To be
Um,
considered.
to be considered?
Or,
Oh,
or,
so we could craft the motion with the 6,
Right.
or we can hold it for 2 weeks. Up to you.
I would say drafted with a 6,
Okay.
okay?
so the motion would be to approve as presented
Yes.
with the addition of 6
ADU, I guess,
ADUs.
yes.
There's different ways to define ADUs, but I think we understand what we're talking about, basically in compliance with the
6
city's
below
policy.
market.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I wouldn't say in compliance with, I would say consistent with.
Consistent with
because
is
the
probably
policy doesn't
best.
actually apply.
right.
So
And if you
I-
vote on it tonight, if we have to come back in 2 weeks and amend it, we can always do that.
Okay, so if I say blah, 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 with the addition of 6 below market units.
So would we be
Sorry,
managing
can I ask
it
you-
the same way like a sale and buying of a house?
The rental office.
Because the rental, okay, so the rental office would handle all of that, because they can just come and go. It's
Sorry, what are the
different, it's
guidelines
different
for
than
that?
buying.
'Cause
a
it
Yeah.
seems like
Right,
they
the
go
unit
who
would have a
decides
different
what's
price.
below
Say you're
market,
renting for, let's say,
right?
See-
1,000,
Right,
these
but with the
units would go for
discount.
like $600 or $700.
So,
So it'd just be cheap.
Mayor, this is one of the difficulties with crafting conditions like this on the fly, the evening of a meeting.
Okay.
I mean, it's entirely up to you all how you want to proceed. I mean, I'll suggest again that this is outside of the policy that was adopted by the governing body. This property was sold well before that. I understand that they're coming here asking for something, but if you want to head down this road, then we probably need to have additional discussions with the developer to make sure that this is crafted appropriately. Because as you've just noted in the 2 minutes you've been sitting here, there are many different ways to structure.
Fine with
Affordability.
market, yeah.
Well, my
Okay, well,
concern
perhaps
is that
we
this was
should
gonna be an
wait
office
for
building,
the
there
2
weren't gonna be
weeks.
any ADUs, and this gentleman's asking for us
Sorry,
to.
could you start again?
This was originally an office building, as you stated, and we were going to rent the first floor, and now obviously, office building is not gonna work. So he's coming here with apartment buildings, which is gonna give us more housing, which is something we do push for. And the fact that they're apartments, it's gonna be more affordable, it's not something, you know.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Apartments can be very expensive.
Yes.
Can I make a, Mr. Moore, I agree with you. I think we should just do this tonight. I think we should do it with 5%, just the reason why, because let's say they need to come down, if we do 6 or something, let's say for some reason you come back and say, I'm cutting down to 100 units, at least at
Yeah.
the 5%.
5%.
And I think we give a framework of what is generally, because I know this gentleman's been waiting from, I think, a year.
Yes.
And we put the condition with the restaurant. We understand the framework we want.
Yeah, and I think he wants his done tonight as
Yes.
opposed to 2 weeks for probably
Yeah.
financing and bank.
Yes.
So I agree with you, we should do 5%.
Yes.
Yes.
And-
Thank you.
and
Thank
use
you.
that as a bare
If
mark.
you want to do the 5% on both, I'll wait for the next 2 weeks.
You
No,
were
we're
right.
talking about the
Yeah.
one building. 5% on the,
One-
Only
On the one, on the
office,
one.
okay, that's fine.
Of 110.
Thank you, yes, I misunderstood the comment.
So, Mr. City Attorney, are you comfortable with us
I just have
crafting
legal
the?
obligation.
No, I
Can
understand.
I
don't wanna
ask,
put
I'm sorry,
myself in a-
TJ, I was speaking to the city
In a big
attorney.
problem.
Can you please wait, I was speaking to the city attorney.
Yeah, sure, go,
Thank you.
sorry.
Are you comfortable with us drafting this on the fly here?
I am comfortable with you making a motion to approve with the condition. I'm suggesting that we may need to come back and, regardless of the approval this evening, we may need to come back in 2 weeks to amend, to clarify the language. Because we
Okay.
need precise language in the amendment in order to sign it.
Okay.
And I want to make sure we're very precise in what we put in there. And that
Yes.
will take a little longer than the couple of minutes we have here. My respectful suggestion would be, we wait the 2 weeks and craft the language and bring it back for approval. But if you need an approval this evening, it's the will of the governing body. I mean, I don't personally see what the problem is in waiting for the next meeting, but that's just me.
I agree, this is the first time it's come here, so I don't know why the rush, but that's, who's comfortable voting on it tonight and who?
Me. I'm about efficiency.
I'm okay
Yossi?
I'm okay too.
with
yeah.
the 5%
It's
on
a
one
nice
building.
place to come
yeah.
back.
Yeah, I abstain from the decision on whether it's tonight or postponed 2 weeks.
Okay, well, if we're doing it tonight, will you read the motion and then we can vote on it? I don't wanna mess this up.
Okay, so the proposed motion would be that the governing body approve and authorize the city manager to sign a Fourth Amendment to purchase and sale agreement with EPI4 LLC as presented with the amendment that 5% of the units in one of the buildings will be affordable, consistent with the city's adopted policy on affordability.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, TJ.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
All right, agreement between the Virginia Department of Health.
Good night, thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night, good night,
Thank
good night.
you.
Maybe over to have a drink later.
Sadly, is away from my computer long enough that it shut down on me, so hold on a second. Okay, so this is the annual agreement that we fund the Prince William Public Health to provide certain services for the city that we can't afford to, or wouldn't make sense for us to do on our own. This, for whatever reason, we've paid this bill late for like the last several years, but we're on time on this one. It is pretty straightforward. House Bill 1963 designated the cost allocations for these services through not just Prince William Health, but whatever health district in the state exists. And so it's a straight math problem, and our allocated share of costs for this year is $88,769. We had allocated in the budget $93,573, so it's actually under what we allocated. So yeah, what I'm asking is for approval on consent at the next meeting to let me sign this agreement and provide them with the funding they need to operate. I do want to just emphasize some of the things that they do for us that we can't, it wouldn't make sense for us to do ourselves, is especially like restaurant inspections. That's a really big deal, and it has to be done right. But while we are getting more restaurants, we don't have near enough restaurants to occupy the time of a full-time restaurant inspector. And so that service alone, I think, is worth the cost of this contract, but we also do several other things when it comes to infectious diseases and immunizations and things like that. So it's a pretty good deal, and it's been in place for years, apparently. So not really controversial. That's why I didn't really do a presentation for it, but if you have any questions, I have an answer for you.
Thanks. Any questions?
No questions. Sounds good. Good deal.
No questions.
No questions.
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
Great.
And I can put this on consent on the 16th?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, where are we? Financial policy addressing year-end surplus funds and year-end capital improvement program funds. You getting your steps in tonight?
Dr. Saunders was going to be here tonight, but she got hung up at the middle school boys basketball game, so I'm going to fly solo. She did want me to emphasize that we are in lockstep on this, and we both agree that it's the right thing to do, so I'm going to try to represent both sides the best I can. So historically, the administration has taken whatever the schools did not spend at the end of their budget year and put it aside for them to use for various costs in the subsequent budget year. This is not something that's been written down. It was just something that the previous city manager thought was prudent and implemented, and it has worked very well, because one thing it does is it disincentivizes the end of the year spending of all your money. There is a thought in government that if you don't spend your entire budget, you won't get it the next year. And we're trying very hard in Manassas Park to quash that sort of thinking. School district is ahead of the game on that one. They do a bottom-up budgeting process every year. They start with zero and develop their budget that way. It's one of the most difficult ways to develop a budget, but it is also, it creates a situation where you end up with more money at the end of the year than you thought you would need. That's actually how budgeting is supposed to work. My direction to our departments is to underspend your budgets by 5%, to achieve the same sort of effect in going into the next year. So, but this isn't written down, and you are under no obligation to do it. You can just take their money at the end of the year, sweep it away, and do whatever you want with it. And so, in the past, that has created a divisive sort of or adversarial sort of relationship that is completely unnecessary. So we thought it might be a good idea to write this down and have it adopted as a financial policy by the governing body. So that's what this is for. And the other important thing to know is that Virginia law does not allow schools to have a reserve. So we have to create this within our general fund. It's the only technical way that can be done. So. And like I said, it does allow them to stabilize their budget over the years. This also applies to their CIP, which we don't do reserves for CIP. It's a capital improvement program. Typically, you plan for 10 years, but you are obligated to plan for 5, and so you allocate your money. There's already a sort of a built-in savings plan in a CIP, just the way it's structured. So we don't have to have the same sort of tools in place for that, but we did want to be explicit that if the schools develop a CIP plan and they fund it with their budget, that we will allow them to implement that and not, again, at the end of the year, sweep away their CIP money because we want to do something else with it. So this policy covers both of those conditions. And just from the standpoint of what it actually does, it requires the city to create a general ledger line that is specific to school reserves. It was typically been called the school stabilization fund or something like that, but it was a year-to-year thing, and it wasn't tracked beyond that. So it's like you start over at 0. How much did you leave over this year? So like if they underspent by $1 million and they took half of that for this year, the other half would go into the general fund. So it was only year to year what they underspent. This will be an accumulation, more like an actual account, and so they may have more in it one year, less than it another year, but it also puts guardrails in for the minimum they should have in there and a maximum they should have in there, because we don't want to just be piling up money for no reason. But it will help during the lean years, and oftentimes, when we have anything that is pointing towards recession, it doesn't last more than a couple of years, and I think this will make them pretty resilient in a situation like that. So we recommend the governing body adopt the financial policy addressing year-end surplus funds and year-end capital improvement program funds for the schools division as presented or amended. I added the or amended because I think Vice Mayor Moore is going to add a component to this as we go through the discussion piece that I have also discussed with the schools, and I'll just say that when he read this, he was supportive, but said he thought that wanted to make sure that any interest that was earned on this accumulated reserve money goes to the general fund for the city's general use. School district has no issue with that whatsoever, so didn't have a chance to include that in the policy before the meeting tonight because we've already made it public, but we will, if you approve it with that amendment, we will do that going forward. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Okay, any comments, questions, starting to the left?
No questions, comments.
No, quick question. The question, what is the maximum they can hold in that fund?
I believe it was 10%, which for the school is typically would be between $5 and $6 million.
They used to have a fund, I think, 10 years ago that was that high, and I know that the governing body before the previous manager were going to try to cap it at $1 million. I have a concern about 5 or 6 million, so that's just a concern I have. I think they shouldn't spend that much. Thank you.
Yeah, and that is the same basic 5% that we ask in our regular budget as well, so that's where we came up with that number.
No question.
No, Carl, I appreciate your presentation. I really like the fact that you're codifying this in a policy, and it's not just something that's floating around the ether from city manager to city manager, so I appreciate you codifying. And I'm glad that the school board doesn't have any problem with us keeping the interest of this money, because we are going to have to track our finance department here in the city is going to have to do that you pointed out here, and I'm glad they're in favor of that. And so I hopefully we can support and pass this tonight.
No questions from me, thank you.
So should I be reading this motion on the screen? It's the first I've seen it.
I
No, I
threw
should
this
read
together,
the-
yeah, you read his motion.
I should read the motion that was in the packet.
Correct.
Just add as amended at the end. Okay. Staff recommendations of the governing body approve the accounting for school division year-end balances for capital fund and reserve line item in city budget policy as presented amended.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
One opposition? Abstain? Motion carries. Okay, we're at our second public comment time. I think we've driven everyone out. City
Not
manager
Lucy.
report. No.
Treasurer-
Lucy's
our
our
Commissioner
number
Revenue.
one fan.
Without a
That's
doubt.
Joshua.
Yes, Josh.
Yeah, all I have for you tonight is, the Santa send-off on Friday at the VRE station. So there's gonna be a little event there for kids to come see Santa before he hops on the train and goes to Manassas to do their event. And then, all day Saturday is our annual light parade and all the festivities there, including the youth entrepreneur farmers market, which is gonna be in the parking lot where the farmers market normally is. On Saturday, that's gonna be the kickoff for the events. Looks like it's gonna be cold, but it doesn't look like it's gonna be raining, so bundle up and come on out. And that's all I have unless you have something for me.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Our next meeting is December 16th. Remember, we are coming at 6 p.m. to have our Secret Santa and our party. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Have a good night.